Okay, family. This is this is a sensitive topic for all people of color. Um, my heart goes out to the Asian community, but we're going to deal with truth today. And in dealing with truth, we're going to expose hypocrisy on so many levels. Um, the black community has been tormented here in America for over 400 years. It hasn't stopped. Our children get murdered constantly. Unarmed children shot down, shot in the back like dogs. So we understand what the Asian community is going through. The only difference is no one has ever came to our rescue. No one. And I'm going to expose the hypocrisy in this video. Here we go. Okay, hate crime statistics. Who's really under attack? That's what we're dealing with today, family. Oh, wow. Okay, family, who's really under attack? That's what we're dealing with today. Okay, I'm gonna play a video because this guy from Black Scout, um, he's really he pretends to be non-biased and non-racist, but I'm gonna show you something about him. I'm gonna play a video for you. Here you go.
I've had enough. Yeah, so yesterday I saw some things on social media where it stated that Asian Americans were the victims of countless attacks across the U.S. and they were blaming essentially Trump. I looked on USA Today and they said that the former president obviously used a lot of racial epithets and blamed the Asian community for the virus. I don't think he blamed the Asian community. He blamed China where it initiated that, but anyhow, and he said that they said that conditioned people to think of Asian Americans as foreigners engaged in the xenophobic behavior, which is hard to undo and notwithstanding with the current administration. And Kamala Harris also tweeted some things. Hate crimes and violence against Asian Americans and Asian immigrants have skyrocketed during the pandemic. And that's why our administration has taken actions to address this xenophobic attacks. We must continue to commit ourselves to combating racism and discrimination. CNN also had its take and blamed Trump and Trump supporters. White supremacists were, at fault for these sort of things. And just unlike everyone else that just shakes their head and says, yes, Orange Man bad, I went and dug a little bit for myself. The first guy I came across was Antoine Watson out of San Francisco, a 19-year-old that murdered an 84-year-old on his morning walk. Doesn't like your typical Trump supporter. It could be wrong. We'll give it to him. The next one, Oakland, California, a gentleman by the name Yahya Muslim, 28-year-old, and he attacked a 91-year-old and robbed him. He was also, when he got caught for this, he was awaiting trial for 2 other attacks on Asian Americans and was in jail for that. So he doesn't look like, again, your typical Trump supporter, but I didn't see a MAGA hat, any of that kind of stuff. The next one was, again, in San Francisco. We go back to San Francisco. Dwayne Grayson, 20-year-old, who attacked a 68-year-old Asian American. And he's waiting trial for it. Again, not your typical Trump supporter. I find it very unlikely. But, and so those 3 popped out, pretty quickly. The next one I found was in Manhattan, this unidentified male who's obviously, wearing blood colors. He slashed a Filipino man. And you're not going to wear a red flag around any large cities unless you're a blood, or you will get the hell beat out of you. So I don't know how many Bloods are Trump supporters, And then there was also this video footage, and you can get all of this video footage. Just Google these names, and you can see all of these attacks are all on video. I just don't want to put them here because YouTube don't like, you know, violent videos. But the next one was Albany, New York. Manager of a store, Asian American that was a manager of a store. A gentleman was inside, and he was at.
I just want to share that he's a blatant liar, an idiot, because he knows the truth. It's right there online. Either that, or he's not a good researcher, and he shouldn't even. Someone, I don't know if someone should flag his video or what, but this is the rhetoric that's keeping the country divided and hatred amongst other races from them.
Has to put on a mask by the manager, and he commenced to, you know, punch him in the face. Now, again, these guys don't like white supremacists to me. You know, they're lacking one feature of that being white. I've had it, and he was asked to put on a mask by the manager, and he commenced to, you know, punch him in the face. Now, again, these guys don't like white supremacists to me. You know, they're lacking one feature of that being white. But I just think it's crazy. As usual, the media paints these things. They feed these narratives to people, and they don't go do research. You just say, CNN, God's, yes, you're correct, without looking and finding this information. A lot of times you can find this stuff on local news. Not all local news is good, but most of the time you're going to find more truth than you do the major networks that have their, you know, like puppets by, you know, various elites and foreign countries. So you can get a little bit better, you know, news from there, as I did. That's where I found all these were local news sources. But again, I'm tired of this, you know, these narratives being fed and people just believing it. Why do you think people are so angry? You know, because they get fed lies and they believe it. And if you believe that, you know, the world is, you know, so horrible.
He's totally correct on that. People get fed lies like the ones he's telling, showing for Black people, the same ones that they show over and over, the same ones that they show over and over, and try to manipulate the narrative and make it look like that it's only Blacks committing these crimes. Okay, let's keep going.
Because of this guy or this group of people, and you're being told it every day, you don't go look for yourself and you just believe it's true. So you're gonna be mad, and there's gonna be filled with hate. You know, the media does nothing more than destroy our country on a daily basis. And it seems like, you know, everybody's okay with that. And people are too much of sheep to go actually find this information for themselves. Anyhow, guys, let me know your thoughts about all of these.
You're correct. People are too much of sheep to go find this information for themselves. Well, I'm gonna do a little, we're gonna wait a little while. I'm gonna play the video from President Biden. And you notice when they speak of Asians being attacked, watch the videos that they show.
Too often, we've turned against one another. A mask, the easiest thing to do to save lives. Sometimes it divides us. States pitted against one another instead of working with each other. Vicious hate crimes against Asian Americans who've been attacked, harassed, blamed, and scapegoated. At this very moment, so many of them are fellow Americans. They're on the front lines of this pandemic trying to save lives. And still, they're forced to live in fear for their lives just walking down streets in America. It's wrong, it's un-American, and it must stop.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? touch my property. You don't buy it. I work hard for it.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
So, did it like this?
Are you stupid? How do we have to do something?
Did I told you to get out in the gas station?
Even before the virus was really in the United States, Chinatown was feeling it here in Boston, and it's because of the flames of racism that they were fanning by the president, saying that this was a virus caused by certain group of people.
My friend's neighbor in Quincy, they got into a big altercation. He got charged with a sledgehammer. They fought, they battled, and then they ended it, but no police was ever called. There was no record of it. My friend actually had a slash on his face.
Anti-Asian racism is nothing new. I'm 31, and I grew up in New York, and growing up in the 90s as children of Southeast Asian refugees. Racism has been nothing new that my family and my community has seen or experienced. It's happened 30 years ago, and it's still happening now.
Do you see the narrative that's being painted? With these videos, they say white supremacy in the news, but they're painting a picture of African Americans and brown people attacking these Asians, and that's just not so. They're calling those hate crimes. Everything they've showed, an argument, a drug addict snatching something that he does from black, white, any other race, from any other store, steals, a hate crime. All that's hate crimes. The narrative that's being painted. Let's see the facts. Now, these are hate crimes. I'm going to go stop sharing, and then I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to show you hate crimes. Okay, stop sharing. Let me go back. Share my screen. Okay. I'm going to show you hate crimes. I got hate crimes for you right here. Check it out. I'm going to let you see this.
People are dead after shootings at 3 different massage parlors in the metro area. Victims also caught in the crossfire.
They shot my uncle.
And now all 8 murders are connected to the same man. We have live Team 2 coverage on the murder spree, the search for that suspected killer, and the dangerous arrest.
And another big story tonight, the risk for strong and severe storms, including the possibility of tornadoes. I'll break down the timeline and threats next on WSB Tonight.
Now, we've kept you on top of this murder spree since it was breaking during Channel 2 Action News at 5, and we have new information tonight at 11. I'm George Estevez.
I'm Jovita Moore. In the last 15 minutes, Georgia's governor tweeted that he is praying for the families of these victims.
In the last 2 hours, police arrested the man they say killed all 8 victims. This is a new mugshot of 21-year-old Robert Long. Police arrested him about 3 hours away in Crisp County after a short chase. The Cherokee County Sheriff's Office says the surveillance picture on the left shows Long walking out of Young's Asian Massage in Cherokee County today. You can see the same shirt in the picture from the back seat of a sheriff's car.
Here's the latest tonight. Investigators say there were shootings at 3 different businesses. The first spa in Cherokee County on Highway 92 in Ackworth, We showed you that scene live during Channel 2 Action News at 5. And then there were 2 more shootings at locations just across the street from each other in Northeast Atlanta on Piedmont Road. In the last 30 minutes, investigators connected them all to the suspect.
So at 11 o'clock, we made this map. It's new to give you a timeline and an idea of the distance between these locations. That first shooting happened on Highway 92 in Cherokee County at Young's Asian Massage. Now, the next shootings were at the Gold Massage Spa and Aromatherapy Spa. Those were on Piedmont Road in Northeast Atlanta. Then, just a few hours later, the capture in Crisp County. We have live Team 2 coverage of this breaking story now from every location of these shootings across Metro Atlanta, from Cherokee County to Northeast Atlanta.
We begin with Channel 2's Chris Jose. He's live in Cherokee County where the first shootings happened. 4 people were killed. Chris, you were able to talk to one victim's family member.
And Jovita, as you know, this is approaching the 6-hour mark now, just past the 6-hour mark now. This all started just before 5 p.m. here in Cherokee County. That's when the suspected gunman, Robert Long, walked inside a massage parlor back behind me and opened fire. Let me set the scene for you late this evening. You can see there is still a large police presence here on Highway 92 near Bells Ferry Road. As you mentioned, the focus of the investigation right now, Young's Asian Massage Parlor. That's where investigators have been in and out all night long gathering evidence. This is a picture of 21-year-old Robert Long. In the last 45 minutes, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office told me he's the same suspected gunman in the Atlanta massage parlor shootings. Investigators matching and confirming it with surveillance video at the different locations. Here in Cherokee County, we know 4 people, 3 women, and 1 man are dead. A 5th person, a man, remains in the hospital. Tonight, I spoke to the niece of that injured person. Was he shot inside the massage parlor?
No, he was coming out of the store beside the massage parlor and the other store beside it, and he was outside.
Someone out of their mind, and obviously not in the right state of mind, and definitely no heart. I mean, I don't know how you'd go in there, or what kind of motive would drive you to do such a thing.
And here is another live look at the scene here off Highway 92 at Bells Ferry Road in Cherokee County. Investigators say 2 witnesses saw the shooting. The victims' names have not been released yet. Now, we are asking the Sheriff's Office tonight if this is a potential hate crime against Asian Americans or Asians at Asian massage parlors. I'm going through that part of the interview for the next 15 minutes. For now, reporting live in Cherokee County, Chris Jose, WSB Tonight.
All right, Chris, thank you. Of course, we'll continue to ask questions overnight and tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're gonna do a little more because the captain said that he felt that the guy had a bad day. No mention of hate. Well, we asked him, was it a hate crime? He told us no, he was just having a bad day. Check the narrative. Okay, here you go again. I want you to see this one.
KPIX cameras were at the scene as another Asian was attacked in San Francisco. We asked city leaders what's being done to stop it. That victim fought back. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Ken Bastidar. Wilson Walker has the video that you'll see only on KPIX 5.
Just after 10 o'clock this morning, Market and 7th Streets coming upon the scene during his morning run, KPIX Sports Director Dennis O'Donnell.
There was a guy on the stretcher and a frustrated, angry woman with a stick in her hand.
Shouting in a Toisanese dialect, the 75-year-old woman says she was attacked unprovoked.
The woman said that she was hit and she attacked back. From what I could see, Wilson, she wanted more of the guy on the stretcher.
Check the narrative. From what I could see, she wanted more of the guy on the stretcher, the guy that just had attacked her, and she was defending herself. And once you've been poked and pushed so long, your anger, so they don't want you to defend yourself, but you see the narrative that they paint when it's one of them. You get where I'm coming from? from what he could see, that she wanted more of the guy on the stretcher.
And the police were holding her back.
Police now say there was a second victim this morning, an 83-year-old Asian man. A 39-year-old man is now being investigated for both attacks, and police say they are working to determine if bias was a factor.
We have to do our jobs. We have to investigate these cases with all resources brought to bear, and we need to make arrests, which we've done that.
Today, both the police chief and the mayor highlighted the arrests made in connection with previous attacks in the city, promising more targeted patrols.
We need to understand not only what was going on and why those attacks occurred, because in some cases they didn't include any robbery or theft.
As for one case that did include robbery, police have announced 3 arrests in connection with the violent attack caught on camera in a San Francisco laundromat. Police say these suspects, all arrested in Antioch, are also tied to 8 car burglaries in the city.
So again, you have a small group of individuals. All of those 3 that were arrested lived outside the city.
That is something the chief of police has stressed in several occasions, not just this recent run of attacks on a specific community, but also just sort of property crime in general around the city, that a lot of what he's seeing, he says, is coming from outside of the city.
Okay, the 3 little black guys that just went in there, that's a robbery, armed robbery. I'll give it that. I don't think that's a hate crime. I think they're just ignorant individuals that's out robbing everyone they come in contact with, because they've had a string of robberies from people outside of the city, all over the city. But the other one that was laying on the stretcher that attacked 2 elderly people and brutally beat them and didn't take anything, that's a hate crime by definition. But you see the narrative. They end the news broadcast with 3 black individuals. That incident had nothing to do probably with weeks prior. They caught them weeks back. But they ended what happened today with a video of 3 black individuals that were robbing everyone, not just Asians. They broke in everyone's cars, black, white, Asian. You see what I'm saying? That's a hate crime. That one is a hate crime. But the other individual that had attacked 2 elderly Asian people, they have to investigate it. Nothing was taken. The narrative that's being painted. They say white supremacists out of their mouths, but they show pictures of African Americans. The same thing they did with the movie Birth of a Nation. They painted the black man as this big angry animal, as they always do. But we can't allow that to keep happening. We do have mentally disturbed people in our community. They do need to be eradicated. Most definitely, every community does. But we're going to look into some statistics. We're going to find the truth. That's the only way we can get free, is if we find truth. So I'm going to try to bring you some truth. Okay. So let's go to the statistics. Okay. Let's get this straight. Come on, baby. Anti-Asian hate crimes in the U.S. rises during pandemic year. Overall, an anti-Asian hate crime reported to police in America's 15 largest cities in 2019 and 2020. It went up from 1,700 to, let's see what is anti-Asian. Okay, 2019. It had 1,845. 2020, it went down 7% to 1,717. Okay. Asian hate crimes. They're up 149%. That's true. They're up 149%, because I'm going to show you another slide here in a second. Okay, on this slide, you may not can see it as good, but I'm gonna share it with you. Okay, this is known offenders of race and ethnic hate crimes by bias. Okay, anti-Asian here. Total offenses in 2019. Well, this was in 2019. The total offenses committed by whites were 95. The total of offenses committed by African Americans, 30. But we also see how they're classifying robberies as hate crimes only when it's against Asians with African Americans. They robbed everyone, but those were 30 were considered probably hate crimes. Some of them probably were, but 3 times more hate crimes against Asians were committed by whites. So, Black Scout, what's your narrative that you're trying to paint? And by far, the hate crimes against African Americans were by far than any other race. I'm talking about 4 times more hate crimes were committed against African Americans than any other race. 2,300 to be exact. By far. No other race was in the thousands. 2,300 hate crimes against African Americans, by far. And the only thing that gets considered as a hate crime when you against the African American, and it has to be rigorously and diligently pushed, is murder. That's the only way you get a hate crime against the African American, and it has to be it has to be a gruesome murder to be considered a hate crime. You see? And 1,300 of those were committed by whites. $2,300 far exceeds any other race. Hate crimes against African Americans far exceeds any other race. That's why I put this in. Here's a timeline of unarmed Black men killed by police over the past year. You have to understand what they are doing. Police in the U.S. killed 164 Black people in the first 8 months of 2020. Police in the U.S. killed 164 Black people in the first 8 months of 2020. On Wednesday, after an announcement by the New York Police Department officer Daniel Pantelli would not be indicted for killing Eric Gardner, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund Twitter posted a series of tweets naming 76 men and women who were killed in police custody. 76 in this is in their custody, not in the shot down in the street like dogs. U.S. police shootings, Blacks disproportionately affected. That's just 2015. 1,300 Blacks. You know what I'm saying? Black Americans are 2.5 times more likely than whites to be killed by police. These are the Department of Justice statistics. In the UCR program, the term known offender does not imply that the suspect's identity is known. Rather, the term indicates that some aspect of the suspect was identified, thus distinguishing the suspect from an unknown offender. Law enforcement agencies specify the number of offenders and, when possible, the race of the offenders or offender as a group. Beginning in 2013, law enforcement began reporting whether suspects were juveniles or adults, as well as suspects' ethnicity when possible. Of the 16,406 known offenders, 52.5% were white and 23.9% were Black or African American. Other races accounted for the remaining known offenders. 1.1% were American Indian or Alaskan Native. 0.9% were Asian. 0.3% were Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders. And 6.6% were of a group of multiple races. The race was unknown of the 14.6%. Of the 5,443 known offenders from whom ethnicity was reported, 33.1% were not Hispanic or Latino, 10% were not Hispanic of Latino, and 1.9% were in a group of multiple ethnicities. Ethnicity was unknown for 55.0% of the offenders. Of the 5,599 known offenders from whom ages were known, 86% were 18 years of age or older. So of all the hate crimes, 52.5% were committed by whites. Blacks and other races blacks committed 23.9%. So whites are over twice as more likely to commit a hate crime than blacks are. But you see how they paint the narrative. You see how the narrative is painted. I got one last slide for you. This is kind of hard to read, but it said, it also found anti-Latino hate crimes rose 8.7% from 485 in 2018 to 527 in 2019, to the highest total since 2010. The killing of 22 people at the El Paso Walmart last year is the worst hate crime attack ever recorded by the FBI, according to the Centers of the Studies of Hate and Extremism. We're gonna pause because you have the Tulsa, you know what I'm saying, Black Wall Street. You have the little town in Arkansas where they lynched 287 Black people in one day. But we're gonna keep on going. We're not gonna play into their lives. Black people were targeted in hate crimes more than any other group in the United States. However, the FBI said that the number of hate crimes against African Americans dropped slightly from 1,930 to 1,009. Oh, they dropped slightly to 1,930 from 1,943. So they killed 13 less, they lynched 13 less African Americans. Of all 4,930 victims of reported hate crimes motivated by race or ethnicity, 48.5% were victims of crimes motivated by offenders' anti-Black or African American bias. So damn near 50% of them were Black people, compared with 15.7% of the victims of anti-white violence, 14.1% as victims of anti-Hispanic or Latino bias, and only 4.4% of anti-Asian bias. This is 2019. After the FBI report released, right groups called for better reporting and collecting of information on hate crimes. So they know that they're not telling the truth about these numbers, but the group that is by far disproportionately affected by hate crimes are African Americans, by far. 20 times more likely to be lynched in a hate crime performed against them than any other race. But no one has wrote an executive order for our people. No one. And they're trying to paint a picture that our people are the animals that are attacking innocent people, elderly people. They're trying to paint a narrative that it's our people that are attacking the Asian community. They showed a robbery of 3 teenagers that had probably robbed everybody in the city. They said it. They had a string of break-ins that those kids had done. White, black, all races. Robberies, white, black, all races. But you had a young white man that went in and murdered Asians and 2 innocent people who were probably in the spot that were white. You have a young white man that were attacking elderly Asians, brutally beating them. Don't take anything, but they have to investigate that. But the narrative that's being painted on television and by Black Scout Survival is that they are lying on white supremacists. It's these people, the Bloods, the gangbangers. I don't approve of gang. I grew up around them. I don't approve of them. As a kid, I participated in it. I know the destruction that it causes. We have to move away from that. Our children are dying, murdering one another. We have a mental illness that we have to move away from. We have to get some help, and we have to get rid of those murderers and those parasites out of our community. They have to go. But first, we have to stop being lied on. There are real predators. There are real murderers. There are real haters, people who hate other ethnicities. And the statistics show that. By far, they show that. By far, they show that. Let's do this once again. Total offenses, 2,314. This is 2019. Murders. Hate crimes. See, those 2,300, they weren't robberies. They weren't arguments. They were murders. Those 2,300 hate crimes were murders, and they're writing racial slurs on people's homes, burning their homes. You see what I'm saying? They weren't arguments. They weren't robberies. They were murders, real hate crimes. Our children getting shot in the back by race soldiers that laugh and that say what their intentions were on tape, on video. But we are the ones that are being demonized. We are the ones that are being demonized. But statistics clearly state that we are the ones that are the true victims. Yes, Asians are being attacked. Yes, it started with the rhetoric of Asian virus, but it's not President Trump's fault. He was just telling the truth about where the virus created. And when he called it the China virus, it was true. It originated in Wuhan, China, right? The narrative that they are painting, the lies that they are telling, it's affecting us, people of color. So when will it stop? When will they stop lying on our people? Let you look at it one more time for yourself. Of the 6,406 known offenders, 52.5% were white. 23.9% were Black or African American. Black people were targeted in hate crimes more than any other group in the United States. However, the FBI said the number of hate crimes against African Americans dropped slightly from 1,930 to dropped slightly to 1,930 from 1,943. You see? Blacks are 40 times more likely. I said 4 times more likely. Well, I'll put it like this. Blacks get attacked 48.5% of the time from hate crimes. Asians get attacked 4.4% of the time by hate crimes. But who has an executive order written to get protected? Which it should have been for everyone. Not just one group of people. Every hate crime. For Blacks, Asians, Islanders, any ethnic group that is a victim of hatred should be punished. The offender should be severely punished. But you have to stop the lies, the propaganda, the BS that it's us, African Americans. Every race has their evil, satanic demons. But one has a whole lot more demons than any other race. And that can't be denied. But people like this guy are the scum of this earth. He's the scum of this earth. Literally, the scum of this earth. Let the truth speak for itself. Asian people deserve better. African American people surely deserve better. Because we are the true targets. We are the prey. And they paint pictures and narratives that are totally false. When will it end? The data speaks for itself. The pictures that they paint. I'm going to go through it one more time. I'm going to share some one more time. Let you guys see the pictures.
Now back to our top story on 11 Alive tonight. A white man is in police custody accused of killing 8 people at 3 spas in Cherokee and Fulton counties.
We know 6 of the victims were Asian women. A white man and white woman were also killed. The suspect arrested about 150 miles outside of Atlanta last night. We have team coverage for you tonight. We're hearing from the Asian American Pacific Islander community and people who knew the victims. We begin, though, with Brittany Kleinpeter, who's live at the spa in Cherokee County where the suspect first opened fire. Brittany?
There's been a steady flow of people coming in and out of the businesses nearby this spa here in Cherokee County, and we have been seeing people stop by adding things to a memorial as far as flowers, signs, teddy bears, and it has been business as usual as far as the surrounding businesses. But tonight, police are sharing more into the insight of what could have motivated this man to do what he did yesterday.
He understood the gravity of it, and he was pretty much fed up.
Local and federal law enforcement agencies pieced together what happened after 8 p.m.
He was pretty much fed up. That's the same guy that said he just had a bad day. And he told us that it wasn't a hate crime. He just had a sex addiction. You see the narrative? Do you see the narrative? We're going to go back and I'm going to show you something else.
Run KPIX Sports Director Dennis O'Donnell.
There was a guy on the stretcher and a frustrated, angry woman with a stick in her hand.
Shouting in a Toisanese dialect, the 75-year-old woman says she was attacked unprovoked.
The woman said that she was hit and she attacked back. From what I could see, Wilson, she wanted more of the guy on the stretcher, and the police were holding her back.
Police now.
You get it? You get it? The other guy, he was just fed up with his sex addiction, and he felt that the Asians were an outlet, so he had a bad day and he just went and killed 8 people. But he told us that it wasn't racially motivated. So we don't feel that. We just feel that he had a bad day. Really. And this, it looked like to me that, I'm gonna let you hear it for yourself.
From what I could see, Wilson, she wanted more of the guy on the stretcher, and the police were holding her back.
Police now say there was a second victim this morning, an 83-year-old Asian man. A 39-year-old man is now being investigated for both attacks, and police say they are working to determine if bias was a factor.
We have to do our jobs. We have to investigate these cases with all resources brought to bear, and we need to make arrests, which we've done that.
Today, both the police chief and the mayor
check how they end up
the arrest made in connection with previous attacks in the city.
I want you to check how they end the news feed with 3 black guys that had robbed everybody in the city, black, white, Asian. They had broken in numerous cars, robbed numerous people. Check the narrative.
Promising more targeted patrols.
We need to understand not only what was going on and why those attacks occurred, because in some cases they didn't include any robbery or theft.
As for one case that did include robbery, police have announced 3 arrests in connection with the violent attack caught on camera in a San Francisco laundromat. Police say these suspects, all arrested in Antioch, are also tied to 8 car burglaries in the city.
So again, you have a...
Check it. Those 3 suspects had robbed 8 other people, all different colors, but they're included in the hate crime. You see, this is a hate crime. They're investigating the guy that jumped on 2 elderly Asians and didn't take anything, 31-year-old male. The guy that murdered 8 people, 6 of them Asian, the other 2 were just casualties of war. He just had a bad day, and he was fed up with his sexual addiction, so He went out and killed 8 Asians, but they're not calling it a hate crime.
A small group of individuals, all of those 3 that were arrested lived outside the city.
That is something
This is what we have to deal with as people of color. This is what makes us so strong. We've been dealing with it for decades, centuries. You understand? But the lies have come to an end. You can't hide anymore. Technology won't allow you to lie and get away with it anymore. Our consciousness is rising. And for those of us that follow righteousness and truth, we'll get to see freedom. But we have to cleanse our community of our parasites. We can't give them any more room to paint these lies, these narratives. In no way can they be able to paint these narratives on us anymore. This propaganda, these lies. So once again, hate crime statistics. Who's really under attack? Hate crime statistics. Who's really under attack? According to this, it said Black people were targeted in hate crimes more than any other group in the United States. Any other. They know. We don't have to tell them, they know. Cleanse your soul, family. Cleanse your mental. Let's rebuild. Let's become God's people. First, we have to act like God's people. Your ministry is your life. You have to live what you say, what you want, what you speak. Your reality has to be cleansed. Therefore, we have to cleanse our communities. It's designed to destroy us. Now the evil has came up with a plan, we're going to destroy most of humanity. They've already lost the spiritual war. They won't win the physical. Evil. Time has come to an end. And if you're evil, no matter what ethnicity you are, your time has come to an end. Righteousness will prevail. Lies will continue to be exposed. Here at a Holistic Herb Paradise, we deal with health, wellness, and truth. Nothing else outside of that box. Peace, family.